petroleum products, etc. So that has been the adjustment mechanism that we have relied on, and it has meant that there's been less disruption to our trajectory. Thank you.
Thank you. Minister Adelaide, please.
Well, thank you very much, Tatiana, and good afternoon to everyone. Indeed, the conflict in the Middle East features at a time that many of our countries are already experiencing challenges. Now, the conflict in itself is a reminder of how vulnerable we are, firstly, and secondly, how interconnected we are as a world. So it is an opportune time to engage in this important conversation on how we move forward as a global economy. As has been said, over the past successive years, the global economy has experienced several shocks. We have hardly recovered from the previous shocks, starting from the financial crisis in 2008, the global economic crisis, COVID, and the others. So they are successive, they overlap, and you hardly have time to breathe. They bring on disruptions, and on top of that, we have climate-related shocks as well. So this, especially the heightened global tensions and uncertainty, have brought on a sense that we have to rethink economic policy, and we have to think differently. For small, open, and vulnerable economies like Lesotho, these shocks have presented extraordinary pressures on the fiscus, on prices, and on everything. And in this context, amongst others, public debt has become very complex to manage, reflecting not only elevated debt levels in many countries, but debt overhang as well for countries that were already managing high debt levels. There's volatility and unpredictability of risks as well as rates, and therefore it weighs heavily on these countries. Unfortunately for us, these are external shocks. They are exogenous to us, and responses have to be calibrated and well thought through for us to continue to be sustainable. The latest one, conflict in the Middle East, is one that is much more complex, and if it is allowed to take longer, it will present us with much more problems than now, and unfortunately, one that is very difficult to manage if left to go on for longer. Amongst the top priorities for us is maintaining macroeconomic stability, which is quite complex and difficult at a time like this, but it has to be done. Sudden adjustments may not be the way to go, given the gains that we had made, but we do have to adjust. We have to adjust in as much as we also have to take care of our populations and protect them from the scourges of inflation and the strain on reserves and the current account imbalances. So it is important, therefore, to have prudent policies, debt management practices, and a prudent macrofiscal framework, and maintain it in as much as possible during this time. But again, that needs for us to work together as global economies. I don't think any one country can do this alone, and it helps that we work together. I would say, in that note, multilateralism is still the key for us to be able to overcome the challenges of today.
We will discuss more during the panel. Thank you very much, Minister. Minister Ndoba.
Thank you so much, and I cannot say more than what the other governor says, but let me come in with some numbers. Since the beginning of this conflict, 41% increasing of the Brent, 48% increasing of the euro price, 21% increasing of the freight rates since the conflict, 9 times surge in maritime insurance premiums since the conflicts, and 31 currencies in Africa depreciated since the conflict began. So yes, we all of the countries in Africa are hit by this conflict, but I really appreciate the countries you've selected for this very important panel, because it really shows how asymmetrical also are the different impacts that we are facing. As you know, Central African Republic is a landlocked country, importer countries, and we are facing very difficult times. And I remember yesterday during the meeting, Mrs. Amina Mohamed was reminding us that during the last 8-9 years, we faced 6 shocks, external shocks. Very, very, very important to mention this. Last year at this time, we were here in Washington discussing the tariff barriers. And today we are discussing the impacts of this very important crisis which hits our countries. At the level of the country, of course, we import all of our oil. We export 67% to UAE. So very big challenges. And what we are doing, actually, we are trying to consolidate our fiscal space, which is very critical. We are working actually onto a financial law to take into account the subsidies that we are about to delete totally. The tax exemption also, we really want to face this situation without all those advantages that we gave to some companies. And we are also working very hard onto our debt sustainability. Yesterday we launched this platform, a very important platform of the borrowers, which will bring support in order to tackle the different challenges that we have regarding this, the debt challenges. And we've called to IMF to engage more, to be more engaged into those discussions that we have with them regarding the response that we should bring on this perspective of the debt. So very difficult time, yes, but also opportunities. I would like to raise some countries in Africa which are doing very good on the perspective of producing oil, for example, and follow my eyes. Okay, so we really need to strengthen the Trans-Africa trade so that we can take advantage of this situation. Also, another country, Morocco, for example, who was the first producer of urea on our continent, very important for the agriculture. So I think that it's also time for us to be together so that we really can tackle those challenges. So let me stop here and then wait for the questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So you helped me moderating this because you pointed at Minister Walindu. Please, can you react? We are talking about helping each other. Another country looking at another country on the continent. Can you reflect on what the minister just said?
Well, certainly, but it's important to reflect on what he said regarding the asymmetry of this experience. But at the same time, I think it's also common to a large extent. From a fiscal standpoint, when you look at for a country like Nigeria or any of the let's say, net oil exporters. The higher oil prices, of course, they do offer the potential for a fiscal gain, a windfall, improved foreign exchange reserves and financial flows. But given the current market volatility, the scale of any windfall cannot really be quantified, cannot be ascertained in advance. And then the benefits are not immediate due to, what people do not often recognize, the complexities of oil trading, and the fiscal transmission is not so direct. There are commitments, there are contracts, and so on and so forth, and logistical situations that make it not just a one-way street. And of course, even if you are a net oil exporter, you have the same dynamics as others: rising fuel prices, higher logistical costs, and higher food prices, which feed through from higher, as you say, fertilizer prices. And so I think it's important that we focus also, and we are in Nigeria as a part of the President's commitment, despite the fact that these reforms were necessary and had to be implemented, is to always remember that the most vulnerable households have to be looked after, have to be particularly identified and assisted at this time. When you talk about the issue of helping each other, we are in a world where multilateralism has retreated, where overseas development assistance is constrained, if not just reducing, and where the net flows to developing countries, when you look at the high interest rates that are paid, when you look at the debt servicing costs and flows, they far outweigh overseas development assistance plus even FDI. So it's a negative flow. And that is where what the Honourable Minister was focusing on really comes into focus. And that is that for Africa, we have no choice. Domestic resource mobilization, mobilizing our own savings, mobilizing our own resources to grow. And part of that trajectory and part of that narrative, an important part, is regional trade, regional integration, and of course, under the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, continent-wide cooperation and trade. We all know you are giving us the figures, and I'm sure you can give us the figures for trade. It will show that maybe Africa has 3% of world trade. Maybe we trade amongst ourselves about 15%, very, very low compared to other regions of the world, other areas, other trading blocks. And so that really is the ultimate solution. Notwithstanding, having said that, we are at the heart of multilateral institutions, and they are looking keenly at the response of those institutions to helping, in particular, the countries hardest hit, the countries less resilient and able to cope, and they fall largely and squarely within a quadrant where the African countries are the majority by far that need that help. So it's important that we lend our voice to, one, our commitment to reform, our commitment to sensible policies, but also that as a member of the international financial community, we point out that extra help is needed, particularly for the African countries that are net oil importers.
Thank you, Minister. Before going to your question in the audience, Minister Adelaide, I saw you agree on different points Minister made. Can you talk about Lesotho in this context too?
Yes. Once again, Lesotho is a small landlocked country. It has unfortunately suffered from the impacts from different angles. First, as we said, it was the tariffs earlier this year. Then the renewal of AGOA by just 1 year, which has both of them, the impact of these two has impacted significantly the apparel, textiles, manufacturing industry, a sector that was employing mostly women in it, and approximately accountable for about 20% of employment in Lesotho. So you can imagine the devastation that's there. With tariffs, we experienced the shift in markets. We experienced much lower orders. We experienced disinvestments in this critical sector and massive job losses. So that in itself impacts on the economy tremendously. Resource mobilization, tax revenue, almost everything has suffered from that, let alone growth, and unemployment was accentuated. But more than that, now the current crisis, again being landlocked and an oil importing countries, an oil importing country means that for us the pass-through to prices was almost immediate and felt or permeated throughout the whole economy almost immediately because it's a small country. So this has caused prices to rise very quickly. Yes, we had been accumulating buffers that would help in times like this, but they can only go so long. So the food prices are increasing, impacting on outcomes when it comes to nutrition, maternal health care, education, and you name them all. But on top of that, we had been striving to balance out and stabilize our business environment. So the reforms that we were taking in terms of business climate have not yielded results. Yes, we have done the reforms, but investors at a time like this have this hold that we want to see where things are going. So at the time when we were really on an intensive investment program or attracting investors, this happens. So it has impacted on the business. It has impacted on government in terms of having to divert expenditures to protect the poor. But also the depreciation in the currency is a fact, and that again affects the prices. So it is a myriad of challenges that we have had to face within a very short period of time, and that we have to respond to. Now, response requires resources, and in many cases you would not have the sufficient resources to respond to these shocks. But we are responding with the little that we have, hoping that this will be a short time that the crisis will stop. But even with that, the important thing that we are doing as a country and to remain sustainable is to go on with our investments in reforms. Public financial management reforms are ongoing. Reforms that have to do with building infrastructure and readying the business environment for when things stabilize. They are ongoing in as much as possible. Domestic resource mobilization is at the top of our agenda. while at the same time you also want to preserve the purchasing power of the same people. So regional integration, opening markets for the African Continental Free Trade Area, and elevating our capacity to supply at the top of the agenda, and developing that critical infrastructure. So we are affected, but at the same time we are going strong on our reform agenda to see that there is survival after the crisis.
Thank you.
Thank you
very much. I know we have a lot of questions, so very quickly, ground rules. Please raise your hand, introduce yourself and your media, and please let's try to stay around the topic today and not only focus on the three countries specifically, as we are not here to discuss specific countries. I will start here on the first row, the gentleman, and then here in the middle, and we will go back on this part of the...
Okay. My name is George Jaffe from Joy FM and Joy News Accra, Ghana. Maybe Minister Edu will take my question. It appears that it has become a cycle when it comes to the debt stock issue. What is the best way to get around this challenge in terms of putting in? Is it the laws? Is it the political will? Because if we hit the block, we put the pressure on the central banks to print more money, to finance developments that are not self-financing, and we are back again in that same quagmire. What do you think we could do to get around that challenge?
Thank you. We will take a question here in the middle, the lady in blue.
Hi, thank you. Kemi Oshikoya from the Africa Bazaar magazine. One of the things that you talk about is improving regional trade. We've been talking about African continental free trade for a while now. So what is exactly, if you can be specific, is the impediment to improving trade within Africa? Regarding revenue mobilization, regarding cutting tariff, what is holding the continent back on this issue? Thank you.
Thank you. Another one here, and then we go there. I think that the gentleman there had a question too.
Thank you. Thank you, Tatiana. Erwan Lucas from AFP. I have two quick questions. The first one is, as you pointed out, the continent is not responsible for the main crisis it has been dealing with the past few years. How can your countries shield themselves from those crises in the forthcoming? Does the integration seems for you to be the best solution, the silver bullet, or do you see any other kind of common policies? And the second one, quickly, about food insecurity, because the current crisis might have an impact. We have heard about the Rio today that 20 million people in Africa might be in food insecurity due to the crisis. It can go even more if the effects are lagging. So what are your opinions about that? Thank you very much.
Thank you. And the last one on this side, the lady with the white glasses, please.
Thank you very much. My name is Hope Moses Ashike from Business Day, Nigeria. So my question is for Mr. Wale Edu. IMF has been saying that it is open to support countries needing financial support at this point of a global shock. So is Nigeria making any plans to seek financial support from IMF? And then considering the fact that Nigeria's total debt is rising over 150 trillion naira, does Nigeria still have space for borrowing? Thank you.
Okay, we will try again not to focus on country and remain on the topic for everyone. We will start, if I may, with Minister Ndoba, and then we will come back this way.
Thank you so much. How to manage the debt? You know, when it comes to debt, it's a question of knowledge. It's a question of power also, because you have borrowers on the other side. So we really need to strengthen our capacity. This is the first thing that we need to do, and we really need to join our voices together so that we can talk with a certain power, because this is very, very important if we want to be heard when we are talking to borrowers. So this is the reason why I talked previously of the platform of the Borrowers Initiative launched yesterday. It is key. It is one of the tools which comes from the recommendation of Sevilla when we were there for the FFD4. Very important achievement, because it gives a piece which were missing into the financial architecture, the international financial architecture. So now that we have this tool, we have around 28 countries actually who join this platform. If we all join this platform, the countries who faced these issues of debt, then we will be more power to advocate, to make the plead, to manage this issue of debt. So this is the first thing. Free trade, how to improve infrastructure. But before going to the other point, infrastructure and all those important actions that we have to take, we also have onto the regulatory framework to be on the same page. Actually, we are not on the same page. All the countries in Africa are not on the same page. When we look at the country who signed all the agreements, we really need to move forward on this so that the political will be there, and then after that the other questions regarding the massive investment which is needed for the infrastructure so that we can travel. Let me give you an example very quickly. When I leave Bangui and I want to fly to N'Djamena, to Chad, for example, which is a neighbor country, have to fly to Lomé in Togo and then to come back. It lasts all the day long. So we really need to work on this, but the political will is very, very important. It's key. Integration, yes, but what else? Diversifying our economies. This is one of the key reforms on which we are working very hard together, and each of us in our countries, because it's the only way to be resilient when we are facing different shocks. Let me end on
to have everyone being able to
let me end with a reform which is not kind of structural one, but very important. Central African Republic, for example, import 90% of his rice from Myanmar. We are not facing the challenges of fertilizers directly, but indirectly through Myanmar, which is a country which imports all of the fertilizer from the GCC's country. But we are eating rice. I mean, we do have cassava, all of our, agriculture products. We should also, in kind of reforms, really engage the reforms on our mindset. We should eat what we produce. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Minister Idun, and then we will go to Minister Adelaide.
Thank you very much. And without repeating, I would say in terms of the debt stock, yes, I think nearly half of African countries at or near debt vulnerability levels, debt even distress levels. At the elevated interest rates that African countries pay, the premium that they pay for commercial debt, it is part of the reason why there is this distress and this discomfort in the first place in terms of the percentage of revenue that has to be given over to debt service as opposed to health, education, and so forth. And, President Tinubu of Nigeria has lent his own voice to the need for a second look at the premium that African countries pay, the way the rating agencies look at African risk, all in a view and all in an attempt to bring down that premium and make financing of development for African countries much more affordable. Clearly, and we talked about what happened in Seville. If you look if you want to encapsulate the lessons or the messaging from that financing for development conference, number one, reform our economies. Number two, get our tax to the GDP ratios up. Number three, automate using technology, including AI. And then number four, crowd in the private sector. Those are the ways to now bring down the reliance on very expensive and often, uncomfortably high-priced debt. Improving trade. I think in Nigeria we're just introducing a national single window to aid trade facilitation and to bring down the cost of international trade. In addition, I think we've lowered tariffs in a way that makes, for producers, makes it much more cost competitive, and for consumers brings down the cost of living. And in addition to that, I mean, we do have in our regions, things like common external tariff, a commitment to, as a region, as a bloc, bring down tariffs, and we need to work towards the letter and the spirit of that law. In terms of resilience from, the AFP talked about food crisis. We have to, at this time, as I mentioned earlier, I think the lesson is that it is the poor, or it is the most vulnerable households that has to be focused on and deliberately targeted and helped, as opposed to maybe a more general provision of subsidies and so forth, which would perhaps take away from the reform trajectory which many countries are on or are attempting to be on. However, the most vulnerable should be targeted. And finally, Nigeria has no plans at the moment to approach the IMF or any other, any other such body. Thank you.
This is a direct response. Okay, thank you. We are going to take two other questions for Minister Adelaide, please. The gentleman on the first row here. Any question on this side of the room? No. So we have two here and a third one there. So the gentleman in the gray.
Thank you so much.
We will try to be more quick on the answers.
Julian Piquet, the Africa Report, Jeune Afrique here in Washington. The managing director yesterday said that the IMF was the firefighter, when there's shocks like this, external shocks, especially for your continent. Can you talk a little bit about, and I know the Nigerian gentleman said that you weren't asking the IMF for any help, but generally speaking, what has been asked of the IMF? Are there stumbling blocks? Is there progress in these requests? Is debt suspension on the table so you're not forced to cut your budgets? Is there a united African request of the IMF in this particular time? Thank you.
Thank you. Your neighbor, the lady in green. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm Nancy Naji from AIT Nigeria. Honorable Minister Waledu, and the three of you have consistently called for domestic resource mobilization. I really like to know what it means realistically for countries in Africa that have weak tax bases, high poverty levels, and a large informal sector. So if you're calling for that now, you're going to be straining the people more and more hardship. Then the second question is, if this crisis persists longer than this, are you all prepared for the risk beyond today? Thank you.
Thank you very much. And the last question, and we will start with Minister Adelaide.
Hi, thanks for taking my question. My name is Magnus Sherman. I'm with Octus in London. There's been a lot of talk this week about, well, in general, about this so-called narrative premium that a lot of African issuers pay. They feel, many stakeholders feel there's an unfair premium